What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to How's It Going to End? I need to come up with a tagline, like the show where I complain and you willingly listen, or something like that. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Got some stuff to talk about. We got actually a lot of shit to talk about over the past week. But first, I want to get this out of the way. I'm like 700 followers away from 50,000 followers on Instagram, which is just batshit insane. Fucking 50,000 people, Jesus Christ. So I thought I'd do something that I haven't ever done. I've always been, interactive on Instagram. I haven't done anything like this. I mean, it's not even anything special. It's a giveaway. I'm going to do a giveaway. It's not that special, I guess. That shit happens all the time. But, yeah, I want to do a 50,000 follower giveaway. I've recently come into possession of both the Wanda and Vision Halloween accurate costume Funko Pops from WandaVision. And some fucking person, whoever's willing to, I don't know, whenever I post stuff about like the podcast or anything more personal on Instagram, it never really gets that much traction, but small amount of people that pay attention. One of those people will be getting this pair of pretty awesome Funko Pops. I've just recently gotten into Funko Pops like as an actual interest. I got 6 of my favorite movie villains. But I thought, why not do something like these? They're popular. They're fucking pretty cool looking. The comic accurate costumes. And yeah, I thought they were pretty cool. Plus, they were kind of hard to find. I found Wanda on the Funko website, luckily, but Vision I had to go through like fucking Hot Topic in a mall upstate. So yeah, that sounds that I'm actually kind of stoked about that. I need to figure out. There's like a bunch of apparently like Instagram rules and regulations I have to figure out with comments and how to what specifically I'm able to say and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm excited. I don't know about shipping at the moment. I'm working out all the kinks. I think it's only going to be for US followers, which is, sorry, I don't know. I know that I think I on my statistics, it's like the majority of my followers are from like India. I don't know how. I don't know why, but it's how it happened. But I think it's only going to be US followers, just because when it comes to shipping, it's just much more simpler. But who knows? Maybe I'll figure something out. Yeah. This last week has been full of a bunch of stuff. Actually, we got Spider-Man news, we got Superman news, and Snyder Cut and stuff like that. And we have the 8th episode, second to last, because I don't. People keep saying it's 10. It's 9 episodes of WandaVision. Episode 8 of WandaVision. We got a lot of stuff to talk about there. What a heavy episode. All right. First thing I have here that I actually have a set of notes. I think I'm going to do this just consistently just because it gives me a direct kind of like line of thought to get into this. I haven't touched my PlayStation in a couple months just because it's been... I think I talk about this on Instagram a lot. I'm not the relationship I have with video games is very, very, minimal. Like every once in a while, I'll either replay a game that I love that I can spend, multiple weeks on, or like when there's a new game coming out, I'll get it and then I won't stop playing it for like 2 months straight, and then I won't touch the PlayStation for another 6 months. The last time, I recently I think in 3-4 days. Which isn't that fast now that I think about it, compared to other people, the way they speed run. I just replayed God of War, the latest God of War, and it was funny. I was thinking about the fact that the most recent time I replayed that was at the beginning of quarantine last March. So a full year almost a full year since I last played this game, and God, what a good fucking game! This is one of the GOATs, man. I also kind of got influenced into wanting to replay it, watching the Girlfriend Reviews video. They just re-reviewed playing it and all that. And yeah, it made me really want to get back into it. And I'm going. I haven't beat the Valkyrie Queen in the. I think I've replayed it. Maybe this is my fourth time replaying. I have not beaten the Valkyrie Queen, and I think I'm gonna try to do it this time. It's so discouraging because all they do is just whoop your ass, and I can't do it. I'm not that good. I don't know how to pick the best armor and to work out the specific like statistics and all that when it comes to runes and shit like that. So, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try this time. I finished the story and a bunch of the side quests. But yeah, what a good fucking game. I also I just rewatched there's almost like it's like an almost 2-hour documentary on the making of the game, which is so great. I mean, like here, like when I first watched this documentary, which was I think maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, it's just so interesting to see how much like work. I mean, you always kind of know when it comes to a video game. I guess you always think about how many people are involved. One, because it can't be. No one looks at something like this complex and goes, "Yeah, I bet they got that done with a small team or whatever." But also because of there's always I feel like there's always drama surrounding video game productions and stuff like that. There's always kind of people outraged by overtime and some studios not paying like overworking their employees and stuff like that. And that's honestly the only time in like the public that I hear about video game production. Does that make sense? So watching this documentary, seeing how many people, like hundreds of people involved in so many different aspects. I can't even wrap my mind around how they go about doing that. Just the engines and the coding and then the animation and the performances, because that's like a whole new thing now with video games in the last let's say the last 10 to like 15 years. I mean, I think 15 even or 10 is pushing it, but with all this like motion capture and animation and legitimate performances in volumes and stuff like that is it's wild how much work goes into this stuff. How much when it comes down to I don't even how the way you break down these games with the amount of people. It's wild, man. And watching this documentary, and it's like they got the E3 that like in that first initial 9 minutes that they released at E3, I think in 2017 or 16, I'm not sure. And it took them like 2 years to do that, they say, like in the documentary, and then they had that same amount of time to do the rest of the game, and the rest of the game is like so many hours to get done, and that I can't even the amount of work. It's exhausting to watch this. I'm the laziest motherfucker, and I'm watching all these people like grind for 5 years straight, and I'm like, I don't think I could ever do anything like that. It's crazy to me how much work goes into these games. But thinking about like the evolution of the character Kratos and through this game, and since the last 7 games of in the franchise, like I think I talked about this, the first video game I ever played, the first ever anything, even before Nintendo or like my Game Boy Advance or anything like that, was the PS2, the PlayStation 2 God of War 1 demo. My uncle had gotten it, and I was like, oh, this looks pretty cool. I think I always had an interest in like mythologies, like Greek mythology, shit like that when I was younger. And I was like, oh, so God of War, you hear Ares and all that shit, and I was like super into it. How old was I in fucking 2004? Way too young to be playing God of War. Way too young. I think I was 7? Shit. Is that math right? Yeah, 97. All right, well, that being the first video game I ever played, that demo, it caught me instantly. So playing like Kratos now, and how much the characters changed, and watching how they have to like maneuver in this documentary. I think I've rewatched the documentary a couple times already, and it's so interesting to see how they had to maneuver around with the character and change him internally. I don't know. That's something I thought was pretty cool. And I know that was it Ragnarok comes out. Is it next year? I'm not sure. I should check that. Yeah, God of War Ragnarok was on schedule for its previously announced 2021 release. That's insane. They had it ready for 2021, but thanks to COVID, it's been pushed to summer of 2022. That's wild. Oh man, I'm so excited. That's another thing that I love about these games is the manipulation of mythologies and specific types of faiths and beliefs. It's just so interesting to go from Greek mythology to Norse, and then I don't know. It's just there's so much that can happen. All right, I should do like a video game talk or something. I should use this as an excuse to play more games. But there aren't that many that I'm interested in. I don't know. I have to figure it out. Where maybe I'll find I'll do like a thing on Instagram recommendations for the podcast for games for me to get to talk about. But yeah. All right, let's move on to some actual news. DC is like officially getting shit started on a Blue Beetle movie, which is fucking awesome for several reasons. One, Blue Beetle is awesome. Jaime Reyes and Ted Kord. I would love to see Ted Kord in it. It seems like it's going to be like a Jaime Reyes solo, which is great. Fucking awesome. It's going to be the first Latino superhero movie ever, which is kind of bonkers to think, like the first ever in how fucking long. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And they got Angel Manuel Soto on to direct, which is fucking cool. I'm excited. It looks like another small piece into expanding like the characters that they're introducing. These are characters that I never would have thought would have been, brought in, like to be brought onto screen. These characters, Blue Beetle, Black Adam, Shazam, Aquaman, all these characters that have it would just whenever I think about comic book movies, I always think about like the main 7 that are always made every fucking 10-15 years. So it's really exciting to see new characters like these be brought to the screen, and people really want that kid from Cobra Kai to be cast. I've never seen Cobra Kai. I probably should get into it, but we'll see. What's next? So there was an interview with I think some executive who worked at Warner Brothers or works there now. I don't know. During all the Whedon cuts for Justice League and all that, and he basically said no one wanted to admit. Here's the exact quote. Hold on. The exact quote was, "Nobody wanted to admit what a piece of shit it was." He called it stupefying. He said everyone was kind of watching in awe about it. And that is fucking hilarious for several reasons. One, because it's like, all right, well, you suddenly now the director has all the control. No one wanted to say to, fucking Joss Whedon, hey, it's a piece of shit you're making here. Or I guess to Jeff Johns and Walter Hamada. I don't know. It's funny to see though. It's like, imagine being Joss Whedon right now. If you're Joss Whedon right now, you got a bunch of other problems to deal with. But it's imagine you're just done talking to your lawyer about abuse cases, and then you look online and you see an executive. These executives, I'm always telling you, these are the fucking most weasel motherfuckers to be able. That's what they're doing. They're trying to pin everything on Whedon, which is hilarious because it's like. The public already doesn't like Warner Bros. The way they handle DC as a whole, You're not going to slide it all onto Whedon. People are. It's just you're making it super transparent how shifty it is. I don't know. It's a shame. It's a true shame. How all of this really could have been avoided if Warner Brothers did not try to use. Disney's formula, the MCU's formula. The MCU's formula works really well for the MCU. It will never work for DC movies. Simple as that. One, because just of public opinion, they're always going to be dissociated. They're always going to be dissociated. They're never. There's always going to be people complaining about which is better, this is that, and it's just never going to happen. I don't know. Warner Brothers wanted Disney level success, and they did it the fucking least Disney way possible. Moving on. What else? There's going to be a J.J. Abrams produced Superman movie, and seeming like it's going to follow around Black Superman, Black Kryptonian, Val Zod, Calvin Ellis. You know, we're going to see how it turns out. I hate that the article used a reboot, and I posted it with the fucking word reboot. Even though it technically won't be a reboot, it's just another Superman movie with what it looks like is not going to be Kal-El, Clark Kent. Fucking dumb name. It looks like it's going to be with I don't want to fucking mispronounce this name. Ta-Nehisi Coates. Is that how you say it? Yeah, I think so. The journalist, like writer of a bunch of Marvel comics, Black Panther, Captain America, stuff like that, is going to be writing this Superman movie. Apparently, I mean, this was kind of news for a while that Michael B. Jordan was in the process of like producing this kind of movie based on Calvin Ellis, Kal-El, who is based off of Barack Obama, and he's in Earth whatever 20 whatever the fuck, and he is the president and Superman, which is kind of like a hilarious concept, but yeah, it seems like they're gonna go with that with Black Superman, Black Kryptonian. Let's fucking do it, man. Let's do it. You know what's funny also is for the longest time, like, you know, enjoying Man of Steel and enjoying Batman vs Superman, just watching kind of like the tides turn with everyone's love for Henry Cavill as Superman. I mean, yeah, like there were never really people that were shitting on him as Superman as much as it was the vibe of his Superman, which I get, but, you know, expand your fucking mind, you know. It's very difficult. And especially, I mean, with the release of Superman and Lois this last week of, what was it, the first episode? I haven't seen it yet, but I saw that clip that everyone's fucking talking about. That is such a good clip. But of Tyler Hoechlin's Superman catching the kid's hat. Well, first off, they get the comic cover down like exactly, with the fucking weirdly green car, which is like a 1941 green car in whatever time period, 2021. And he catches the kid's hat, and the kid goes, "Nice costume." He goes, "Thanks, my mom made it for me." And that is such a good. I said this, like, the pride in the way he says, "My mom made it for me," is such a Superman thing. But then, like, there goes the harsh reaction of people being like, "This is Superman." Like, that happens with everything, though. It's not just DC or Superman or whatever. That happens with everything where there's one thing that people kind of latch on to like it's a fucking life raft, you know? Especially when there's something else that is kind of not contradictory, but that has a clash against it, you know? So like that coming out and then people being like, this is what Superman should be like, because for the longest time, like, this is what I mean, like with all this talk about J.J. Abrams produced Superman, it's like a lot of people are coming out and being like, no, Henry Cavill Superman. And now I'm thinking about how many of these people, because this is what's happening, how many of these people were going, oh no, Henry Cavill is a Superman. What happened to the Christopher Reeve Superman? What happened to Superman? He smiled, and, you know, these are kind of like boring complaints about these people complaining about Henry Cavill Superman, you know? Because then, like, the automatic swinging of the pendulum goes to Tyler Hoechlin Superman, and he's like super campy, and it's great. It's earnest, and I love it. But there's always going to be people that go, oh, why couldn't this is what we're really talking about. What was that stuff happening? And now it's kind of a clash, because at the same time they're talking about this new Superman movie where they're not going to be using. It looks like they're not going to be using Cavill as Clark Kent. But I don't understand the. Like, it was an instant. I mean, I get it. The article initially was like calling it a reboot, and people already don't like J.J. Abrams because he was forced to listen to Star Wars dorks about the Star Wars fucking sequels, which is like I'm never gonna fault him for that. He was so pressured by not only Disney but also you fucking dorks, you fucking Jabba the Hutt motherfuckers about the Star Wars sequels and the awful reaction to The Last Jedi, which is like, I don't know. Do I want to get into that shit now? The point I'm making is J.J. Abrams is a fine filmmaker, and while I think his stuff is, I mean, he's producing, he's not directing. Personally, while I think some of his stuff is kind of boring, I think it's like it's the least you could do to be better than average, I guess. I don't think it's bad. I don't think anything directly of his is bad. Did he direct Force Awakens? I think he did. Yeah, he directed Force Awakens. Force Awakens is great. You know, it's kind of like, it's like a Harry Potter movie. I can watch it. If it's on TV, I'll watch it. It's fine. I personally really like, I've never been, it's interesting. I've never been one of those like cult sci-fi fans, whether it's Blade Runner or Star Trek or Star Wars, but I liked his Star Trek reboots. You know, I thought he did a great job. Chris Pine is great as Captain Kirk. You know, I don't think that those were. I think those kind of just people just don't think about him because the whenever it's in the entertainment industry, it's always about what you've done recently. It's never like your history almost, you know, because everything is especially now with social media and how fast the internet moves. Everything is about like, what are you doing right now? What have you done recently? So people look at his Star Wars trilogy, which is like, you know, can you honestly blame him for the Star Wars trilogy? I don't think you can. They brought him in to be like, listen, there is some bad, the prequels, even though the switch reaction is now people are acting like they're a fucking masterpiece. The prequels left a bad taste in everyone's mouth 20 years ago. We need you to do something that'll make people, you know, care about Star Wars again. And it's like, so he delivered like a very modern version of the original trilogy, which is like, that's great. You know, Force Awakens was whatever people call it, a New Hope, whatever, who cares? It's a very modern version with that kind of feel but better effects and all that shit, you know. But you know, you start a trilogy. This is not a J.J. Abrams thing. This is a fucking Disney thing, I think. It's, unless you're like the MCU, Disney doesn't plan ahead very well. I mean, they're planning ahead now with Star Wars, but with the start of the sequel trilogy, they didn't plan anything. all they had planned was like the release dates of the upcoming movies that were not written, you know? I mean, Force Awakens comes out, it gets an instant like, oh my god, Star Wars is back. We got all the fucking guys here, and it's gonna lead into the next one. We saw Luke at the end, and it started this whole idea of, okay, well, Star Wars is back. We know what they want. Let's give them more Star Wars. And they made the mistake of hiring someone who wanted to take chances, you know, which is always going to be funny to me. I mean, listen, The Last Jedi isn't a great movie, but it's not like if The Last Jedi ruined your life, then you need to, then what kind of fucking life is that? You know, I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, I think that the negative reaction of The Last Jedi forced Abrams to be like, all right, you know, that panic of when you're like in a corner and you feel like something is closing in on you, so you kind of scramble. It's like when you see a rat or like a mouse kind of in a corner just dart back and forth. That's how it felt. That's how I imagine it must have felt, at least, where it's like, how about we give you Lando? How about we give you, you know, a bunch of other fucking, we'll go back to the wreckage of the Death Star and, you know, all that. It was just, yeah, I mean, I can't personally blame Abrams. I think that it's all your dork's fault and Disney's fault for not planning a fucking trilogy. A trilogy spanning several years. Like, I'm not even several years. Every other year was a new installment, and then they had those Star Wars stories that came out, which is like, listen, everybody, they're gonna come out. You better get started on them. Like, that's just such a Disney thing to me. But yeah, I'm excited for this because to everyone panicking, oh, we're never going to see Henry Cavill. The multiverse is alive and well, dude, in both DC and Marvel. The CW introduced it, which is always going to be hilarious to me because the CW is just generally so mediocre to me. It's fine. It's TV comic books, it's fine. It's all right for what it is. When it's good, it's good, and when it's bad, it's real fucking bad. But they introduced the multiverse, I think, in a perfect way. You brought a character from a movie into your show's universe, and you expanded it so well. I think, personally, I think they did a great job. Not only on the introduction of other characters, but now the way they established it, characters do not have to. Typically, like in Futurama. I mean, this is a strange example when it comes to multiple realities and alternate dimensions. In Futurama, the alternate dimension was just like Fry looked like Fry but with blue hair this time. Like that's a funny way to think about it, is like the most minor differences. But when I think of like how they handled it in the CW, it's like, no, Barry Allen won't always look the same, which is, I think, is a really cool idea. I mean, even in, what was it, the animated movie, Crisis on Infinite Earths? Oh, no, Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. There we go. Even in that, Superman can tell that Lex Luthor isn't, even though he looks exactly like Lex Luthor, he's not their Lex Luthor because his heart's on the other side. Like, when I think of the multiverse and how it changes characters, it's always going to be on the biological side, I think, which is really interesting. So you're not always going to have, John Wesley Shipp, he looks like he is Barry, and then he is also Jay Garrick. It's really interesting how that can, to me, that's a really great way to go about the multiverse. So this Superman, Calvin can exist right alongside Clark. Henry Cavill isn't 90. The guy's in his like fucking physical prime. He loves doing Superman, clearly. If they say, hey, we need white Superman here, like, he's going to show up. The panic surrounding it is so like spazzy, and it's kind of embarrassing. I don't know. I mean, it's not, I don't even want to use cringe for it. Cringe is for specific kind of like vibes. This is just embarrassing to watch people like freak out. What? Suddenly now, Henry Cavill is everyone's Superman. You asked them fucking 12 months ago. He's like, nope, Christopher Reeve or some, Brendan Routh. His Superman movie is awful to me. I'm sorry, I can't stand a Superman movie, but he did a great job as Kingdom. Like, there you go. I mean, perfect example. Kingdom Come Superman. Brendan Routh in the CW. That was great. They executed that really well. So if you just handle the multiverse like that, where everything is connected, but it's connected, through, I don't know, not even like plot, just through nods to everything. It's just, I think that's a great way to go about it. And I think that's the way that I don't know if the MCU is going to be handling it that way, because I guess recently I saw a quote that Feige, however you pronounce that dumb fucking name, he talked about like recasting Wolverine, which is like, all right. I mean, I know that Hugh Jackman's out, but if you're recasting Wolverine, you're probably recasting everyone else, even though you brought in Evan Peters in WandaVision, which is disappointing, because it's like, so now the cool thing about bringing Evan Peters in WandaVision is that now you have access to these actors. You don't have to just dump the entire call sheet, You can bring in these other people because they don't have to, their alternate versions of each other don't have to be exactly them. That's the great thing about it. I think that's the great thing about the multiverse in general. So much can exist. The potential is actually insane. So much can exist at the same time, and it's really great. And yeah, and also there's a whole thing about, like, I mean, with the Snyder Cut happening at the same time, it releases in a month, March 18th, everywhere. HBO Max and theaters. I don't even know if it's happening in theaters in the US. I don't know. I'd love to rent out a fucking theater and see it, but I don't think it's going to happen. And video on demand in specific other areas everywhere else besides the US. I think with the Snyder Cut happening at the same time as this Superman news, and we're seeing, like, what Zack planned with Superman. We're seeing original shots and pretty badass shots of him in the black suit. It's almost like not nostalgia. What's it called when was it? Is that the pink cloud? It's interesting when someone's in like the first couple weeks of a relationship, all the negatives kind of just disappear, and everything is like, oh, I love this so much. Oh, this is gonna be great. I hope this lasts forever, and it's not. Especially when it comes to the Snyder Cut, we know that it's not expanding afterwards. Warner Brothers has no plans to continue working with Snyder when it comes to this kind of stuff. Snyder has a better working relationship with Netflix right now than anything. Netflix already is like giving him a prequel anime series. I think it's an anime series on his upcoming zombie flick, Army of the Dead, which is coming out May 21st. Yeah, Army of the Dead coming out May 21st. But yeah, so after the Snyder Cut, that's it. It seems like it's going to be. I mean, I don't think enough fans. It's like, and he did an interview, I think, recently where he talked about how Warner Brothers wanted to initially release his unfinished cut. I mean, not unfinished as in it had no, like, everything was on wires and no VFX and stuff like that. And that's such a shitty move to do. And he explained why. It's like, one, you get to take it off your hands. Two, you put it on the internet. You get to keep the internet off your back. And three, it's like now you get to go, oh, see, look how shitty this was originally going to be. And he makes three great points, which is exactly what they would have fucking done. Which is why he said he would have, like, he was totally fine with it kind of existing in like a mental area where he gets to just every once in a while post a screenshot in Vero. Yeah, with all this happening, with the last 3 years of Justice League kind of just almost like a fucking weight over everybody. Like there's so much more important shit happening. But when it comes to the pop culture world, I guess, it's such a fucking nuisance, I think, at this point. I mean, and this is coming from someone who likes Snyder's work. I fucking met Snyder. He's a creative inspiration when it comes to visualization of stuff. I'm super stoked for the Snyder Cut. I've been very vocal about this. I always knew. I mean, I didn't know from fucking my eyes, but I knew, like, in the back of my mind, like, yeah, it existed, but we would not legally we would not be allowed to see it. It was always in my mind, which it turned out it was like a legal issue. I was like, if we do see it, it's going to be in 20 years, and it's going to be, hyped up like the Donner cut of, I think, Superman 2. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, with everything happening with HBO Max, and it seems like they were like, all right, we're going to just let him get rid of it. And he said that he chose not to get paid for this because he didn't want any, which is you put your own money into it, you get to do whatever the fuck you want to do, which is smart. And they only gave him money they gave him $70 million to do VFX, which is a shit ton of VFX to do. But yeah, all this happening at the same time as all this as the Superman news is creating this weird vortex of like, oh, I miss Cavill. Oh, let's get the Snyder Cut over with. And it's like I'm feeling both of this right now. I'm so tired about talking about the Snyder Cut. I'm so fucking tired about it, man. I want to see it. I'm glad it's happening. It's a fucking awful thing that they did to him. But holy fuck, get it over. It's like passing a fucking kidney stone at this point. Just piss it out. You're going to get some fucking yellow and blood in there and just get it out and then move beyond it, man. Which is why I'm so excited for Army of the Dead. And in the trailer, he has it as director of Man of Steel. And I was like, that's a good one. That's a great touch, it's just very interesting. I was talking with someone about this. It's like, what happened to him is awful. What happened to him with his daughter is awful. He stepped away because of personal reasons. His daughter, unfortunately, commits suicide, and that's awful. And then what happens with him with the studio and how they fucking mutilate the film. They redo 75 to 80% of it, or more. With how the reshoots went, everything looks like it has a blue tint over it. I don't know. Yeah, but all that leading up to now, it's like I just have it here and let's move on. As a fan and a critic of Zack Snyder, move on. Not just to him, to everybody, to people shitting on it, to people, to the Snyder obsessives. Because as much as people love to talk about like how much shit Snyder gets, there are a lot of fucking people that will like in an instant, anything is like, oh yeah, that's a great, I love that so much. Like nothing is without flaws, especially when it comes to something like this, something surrounded with so much drama. So I'm really excited for it to kind of just pass. It's weird. I don't know. I'm just trying to be a realistic. I said this on Instagram. I'm trying to be a realistic optimist, and I'm normally a pessimist. Normally, I would be saying, "All right, let's get the fuck over with." He 100% deserves to have his cut out there, and then after that, move the fuck on. Please move on. Holy shit, I'm tired of talking about the Snyder cut. All right, I think I've been talking consistently for 30 minutes. That's normally I have to take like a couple minute breaks in between because I don't have a rhythm, but I've got a rhythm going on, people. Up next, we're talking about the Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 got a title release. Spider-Man 3 is going to be called No Way Home. They really stuck to their guns with the home thing. They kind of had to after Far From Home. If it was Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and then Spider-Man the whatever the fuck, not including home, people would have been more disgruntled than I am with the fact that they chose to put home in the subtitle of everything. I don't think it's awful. I kind of like it. No Way Home makes the most sense when it comes to the multiverse context that it seems like they're going with. Homecoming, like when it comes to the context of Homecoming and Far From Home, it's like, yeah, Homecoming is he's in high school and Homecoming is happening. Far From Home because he's far from New York. It's like that's kind of more on the nose than I would like. But No Way Home is it kind of leads to something interesting. It opens up a lot of possibilities when it comes to what's actually going to happen in this movie, because there's like a ton of stuff up in the air apparently about this. Tom Holland keeps trying to lie and act like stuff isn't happening in this movie that's obviously going to happen. You're not going to have Alfred Molina and Jamie Foxx come in, and we're not going to see Toby and Andrew. Cut the shit, Tom. I get it. You're more popular for spoiling shit than you are for like acting. I get it. Like he said said to some fucking source, like, you really think I'm going to tell you? It's like, yes, we think you're going to do it because it's adorable and whatever. I don't know. They did a whole like joke, like, which kind of freaked, like it actually kind of frustrated me. Which is ridiculous to be frustrated by. I can acknowledge that at least, but allow me to be fucking annoyed by it. It's my opinion. They did the trick name thing where they're like, oh, proud to announce the title is Spider-Man Home Slice, Home Wrecker or Phone Home. And I'm like, that's great. That's so cute, you guys, making fun of the fact that you choose dumb titles. That's like the most persistent thing in the MCU since Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like that sense of humor where it's like, are we really like the perfect example of this sense of humor, like in my mind, starts with Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy after Quill gives his big speech. And then Rocket Raccoon is standing up and he's like, look at us, a bunch of morons just standing up or whatever. It's like that self-acknowledging, observant humor is so, it floods the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's fucking obnoxious, dude. It's my least favorite aspect of these films, because it is thriving in the most recent, and like consistently thriving in these movies, to the point where it's like, hey, look at these titles. Don't we choose such, like, why did we make it Homecoming and Far From Home, right? Now we have to do something like Home Slice or Phone Home or Home Wrecker, whatever the fuck. I don't know. That frustrated me, but you put your opinion out on Instagram, and then suddenly it's like, hey man, other people have opinions too. And it's like, I know, that's what I'm doing. I'm putting my opinion out. Being reminded that other people have opinions is like a way to stop you from having your own opinion. Now officially on Instagram, but whatever. I get it. It's annoying to see someone be frustrated. I mean, I've always been frustrated by small shit like that. I can't help it. No Way Home is not a terrible title. It's actually fine. It's all right. It would have been better if it was just like nothing before having to do with home. Like, oh God, it's so not even subtle at all. Like, Spider-Man's home now. He's home. You know what people don't seem to understand about this whole like Spider-Man, Sony, and Disney deal is like Marvel was going bankrupt in the 90s. Marvel was selling off characters like fucking lemon cakes, dude. Lemon cakes, really? They were selling off characters like nothing. They sold off Venom for what, $200, I think? Or the original creator sold Venom for $200, and then they sold it off. They sold, and then people love to bring up like Sony bought Spider-Man only because they didn't think that it would be that any of the other characters would be successful. And then you have people being like, "Oh, we showed them." It's like, yeah, you really did. By being a consumer of these films for the giant conglomerate company, you really showed that other giant conglomerate company. But yeah, like Sony bought Spider-Man fair and square. He was technically home. Disney Marvel is not Marvel Comics. Like, that would be home. Like, it's like you going out to buy a dog, and then one day someone eventually like works out a deal where you the dog that you bought from a specific shelter spends some time back at that shelter. Does that make sense? Am I bullshitting here? And then like as it's going back to that shelter, people are like, "Oh, you're finally home." It's like, yeah, but he was legally bought. They sold him because they were trying to stay afloat. I don't know. I think that's just kind of funny. So then, they're like, "Oh, Homecoming. Spider-Man's finally home, you guys." And then Far From Home. He had to leave home. Yeah, Spider-Man's in London, you guys. Which is like, yes, take the New York hero and let's put him in fucking Berlin. I don't know. You guys know how I feel about Homecoming and Far From Home. But, yeah, this one's going to be big. Spider-Man No Way Home. The Home trilogy. Fucking okay. And then there's all this talk about how long will Holland continue to play Spider-Man. And Holland talks like he wants to do it forever. Which is like, I get it. You're young. I think Holland's, a year older than me, 24. And it's like, you're young. You are able-bodied at the moment to play this character for a very long time. And then Robert Downey Jr. comes out and he's like, "Oh, I hope he doesn't want to play the character for that long," or whatever he said. He's like, "I don't expect, he should not want to play the character for that long." It's like, hey man, you didn't act for like 10 years. At least Holland is doing an American accent. Robert Downey Jr. did not act for a very long time. Robert Downey Jr. is not acting when he plays Tony Stark. He's being Robert Downey Jr. with a dumb fucking goatee. That's it. And what the last actual legitimate performance from Robert Downey Jr. in, honestly, was it the last 10 years was The Judge? And no one talks about that because it's a fucking drama. How hilarious is that? The first project out of the character you've been playing for 12 years is Doolittle. Okay. Doolittle? A fucking 120-minute fart joke? I think that's being generous for the fucking runtime. Hold on. 101 minutes. Yeah, it was 20 minutes over. Jesus, imagine that. But yeah. This one's setting up a whole multiverse thing, which Elizabeth Olsen is going to be in this somehow. Doctor Strange is going to be in this. They're setting up so much for the next, wave of Marvel, which is really exciting. It's really interesting how everything's going to go about. I hope it's executed the way that WandaVision was executed, in an interesting and creative way. Because then this will be the best fucking phase of Marvel in a very, very long time. Leading into WandaVision episode 8. Let's talk about some WandaVision episode 8. Fuck yeah, dude. Holy shit, guys. All right, I'm going to go down in my notes because I text myself my notes like by the second watching the episode. I thought it was so cool starting off during the Salem witch trials, but not through the Salem, not through like the actual like what you would expect, where it's like regular people burning a witch. It's her coven, which is so cool. Catherine Hahn, by the way, holy fuck, one of the funniest people, but also like pulling up some kind of performance out of here, man. That is unexpected. Like it's you can genuinely find the best dramatic performances, even if she's not playing a dramatic character, even if her character is spunky, you know, Agatha all along and all that shit. It's a dramatic performance. She's playing a character that has all this giant amount of context behind her. It's so good. It's genuinely so great history lesson on how on like the reverse end, where the witches were, even witches had their own set of rules, and Agatha even broke those rules, which is so cool. Her de-aging was kind of wonky, you have to admit. They tried to make Catherine Hahn look like, I guess, in her 20s or however old you would be, a young witch in 1693. But that's, you can see where the money's going and where it's not, I guess. It just adds this extra layer of depth to Agatha. It's interesting. She's clearly more of a complex character than expected. At least after the end of the last episode where she's revealed. It's like, was she doing this illegal magic on purpose? What was she not cared enough by this coven? It's interesting when she's talking. I guess that was her mom trying to pull her magic out, and she's so powerful she ended up absorbing the magic from all those other witches and her mom, which I thought was really cool. It reminded me of Raiders of the Lost Ark. The dry skinned bodies of all the other witches. I thought that was pretty good, pretty dope. It adds an extra layer to the character, and we find out that, which is really something very, very, very interesting, that I think we all thought up until now, was that when it comes to Pietro and Vision, that Wanda was playing with their corpses, which we find out in this episode is not what happened. It's not the truth. Holy shit. Talk about a subversion of expectations. Really, really well done, man. The idea of playing with necromancy, she's using the mental projection of a corpse almost, and fluffing it up, and like with what she did with Pietro. But then that makes you think, when later on we find out that Wanda did not take Vision's body. The shield sword still had Vision's body, and they did the whole White Vision thing where they wiped him, and now he's a perfect fucking unfeeling AI presumably. But yeah, so Wanda, the same way Agatha did Pietro, she creates a mental projection based off the amplifying powers of the Mind Stone that they gave her back when she was being tested with it. Which now makes a lot more sense to me. When I think about it, I was like, why did they kind of touched on it a little bit in Age of Ultron when he goes to save her from the collapsing building? There's a moment where they kind of look at each other, and I think about it now. I was like, she was experimented on with the stone that has personified him, that has not personified, anthropomorphized him. It created, this being. So of course you would have an affinity to this being, which makes great sense. Who knows if that's how it was planned? I mean, I don't think they thought that much about it, but I think that WandaVision comes up. It supplies the opportunity to go back in and do that. They did a great job of showing how fucking traumatized Wanda is. The poor fucking girl is moments away from a mental collapse all the time. Her parents die and her brother's there. Her brother dies, Vision's there. Vision dies, who the fuck is left, But by the way, are the Avengers just the worst friends possible? I mean, I'm just imagining like no one on the team, no one in the giant team of the Avengers now was like, hey, does someone want to go check on Wanda? She kind of seemed a little rattled. Anyone want to go check on Wanda? She seemed like she had no hope and everything was lost in her life. No, she'll be fine. She'll be fine. So Wanda goes and Hayward brings her to where they're kind of dismantling Vision. And we find out that, I thought he was vibranium. I thought Vision was vibranium. I didn't know that you could take his body apart with fucking whatever the fuck they have. Maybe they have vibranium tools after everything that happens with Wakanda. I don't know. But they pull his body apart and they're fucking with it. And she leaves. She finds a folder. And that's why this is another great little nod. Is like, why Westview this whole time? Why was she in Westview? Vision apparently was planning to just like move away with Wanda in New Jersey for some fucking reason. Go somewhere else. New Jersey, Jesus. And he had a home set and everything. And so she built everything from that home. And because Wanda as a child, had such an affinity towards sitcoms, which is such a good idea. It's also like a very common thing, Eastern European, or my family's Eastern European, and a lot of the English they learned was through like American television and movies, So that is a great way to go about how she would get the inspiration, the mental, like the deep subconscious inspiration to cover everything through sitcoms. Starting from the Dick Van Dyke Show and I Love Lucy and Malcolm in the Middle, Modern Family, which I guess she would come from an older Wanda's mental state. But yeah, that's so great. This is where we figure out that she already had some power. She already had the powers of a witch, basically, which is really cool, I think. Whether they go about it where it's like she was a mutant and then the Mind Stone amplified her powers, or if she was a witch this whole time, she had like subtle witch powers that Agatha says would have like died off if the Mind Stone didn't amplify them, which is a great idea, I think, because it adds to the scope of Wanda's power. We've all been asking ourselves this whole time, how has she been able to do this? Because the MCU kind of didn't know how to introduce her and how to express her power. It was always kind of energy blasts and vague, mind control type. She could move stuff with red mist. That's how it was expressed until now. And now we find out like, oh, she has this inner witch origin that was amplified by the Mind Stone, and it just expands the scope of her powers, while at the same time expanding the concept of magic, by the way, in the MCU. Until now, Wanda's powers were, vague energy bending, and magic in general in the MCU has been kind of standard. I mean, even in Doctor Strange, it's the most basic magic. It's like he can refill the glasses with beer or some cutesy shit, but otherwise most of Doctor Strange's magic was always like time warping and the portals and shit like that. This is Constantine style magic, plucking hair, spells, runes, hexes, shit like that. I'm looking forward to more of that. I want that to expand because it's a very unique aspect to the MCU that they did not dive into enough until now. So I'm really looking forward to that. This whole walking through sets where it's like, young Wanda, the explosion happens, you see the Tony Stark bomb, the Stark Industries bomb, and they're under there for 2 days, and then it zaps into after Pietro. No, it zaps into when she's held by Hydra and she gets shown by the Mind Stone what's to come, or what her desire is. It's very interesting how they go about it. Is that what she wants? Is that what she desires? Is that something that she sees in her future? They see her in her costume, in her actual, like, it looks like a tactical, comic accurate, Sokovian fortune teller costume, and it looks badass. And you see how the Mind Stone is affecting her, and then it moves into And that's why she was able to deal with the Mind Stone. Every other test subject they used like died, and because of her witch powers, she was able to counter it and feed from it almost. And then you move up to after Pietro dies, and you see where the start of this relationship between her and Vision is. It's very like innocent, and it's very special. Everyone's quoting that line. What is grief if not love persevering? Which is a great line, and it's exactly something that no human would come up with that. No human would say that when consoling someone. Mostly it's just, oh man, that's crazy. You go to visit Wanda and she's watching Malcolm in the Middle all solemnly, and then fucking Falcon walks in like, oh man, how you feeling, Wanda? Oh, I'm just sad or whatever, and then it's like, oh, sometimes it be like that. And then you have Vision coming in, and he's just got the perfect fucking thing to say, because he's not human. Humans are the fucked up part. An AI would come up with that because because an AI would have all the perfect sentences to say. An AI would just be getting fucking laid all the time. But you see that that's where the start of the relationship between them started, and then you go back to now, and holy fuck, Elizabeth Olsen, dude, what a fantastic fucking actress, man. I mean, she's been a good actress in the Marvel movies, but we're seeing some like performance of a lifetime type shit here with the way she holds back cries, the way she looks back fondly on her child memories, and first of all, she can cry like a motherfucker. The lip quivering, the tears flooding is top notch. Very few actors and actresses can cry where it makes, like, at least personally for me watching, not feel uncomfortable. Instead, I'm watching this and I'm like, Jesus, I'm feeling nothing but fucking empathy, And we all knew Hayward was shifty as fuck. Wanda didn't steal Vision's body. He held onto Vision's body. So then why is he tracking the mental projection of Wanda, of Vision that Wanda's created? Interesting. I wonder how that's going to work out, because we know that he can't exist beyond the Hex. He was being torn apart. He can't exist beyond the Hex. Magic can't do that. Seemingly so. And that still holds to my theory that, the end of this, they said that the end of this show would be extremely, extremely sad. So I'm expecting like it ended like how in Infinity War, Wanda taking out Vision. It's that moment of like, true love, and you have to let me go, and this is the right thing to do. We're gonna get that with Vision, but now we're gonna get it even twice over. I think with her kids. I think that her kids were also manifested from this, this mental delusion. I don't think that they're able to exist beyond the Hex either. And it's some wild shit, man. This is gonna be fucking wild. We hear about chaos magic, and we hear about what kind of being Wanda is. And last episode there was the Nexus commercial. So a Nexus being, comma, being the kind of like character in Marvel that can do all these interactions, and this the perfect excuse to have other actors and characters be introduced. The perfect excuse with Wanda being a Nexus being. And it's great. It's just so great. Now, this is where I wonder, like, what is Agatha's goal? Seems evil. Seems like maybe she wants to absorb the magic out of Wanda. But she's almost like at the end when she has her kids on leashes, she's like reprimanding her almost. Like, your magic is chaos magic. It's like, so is she a fucking magic cop? Is she going to try to control Wanda? Is she going to obtain Wanda's magic? I don't know. It's interesting. Does she correct magical anomalies? I don't know. We'll see. Because in the comics, she's more of a mentor type character to Wanda. So we'll see how it goes. Can she? I don't know. There's apparently still one major fucking character being introduced. Happening next episode. It's gonna be wild. And then we get the almost like a rebooted version of Vision. It seems like Sword somehow it looked like it was the bomb that was faulty when Wanda was a kid that didn't go off that had like her magic on it. You know, they used like I guess they what did he said something like using going to the source or whatever the fuck they used bits of her magic or something. They fucking found a way to use it to reanimate this version of Vision, White Vision. Which is interesting. How is that the bomb? Maybe is it a recreate? Oh, is it the? I'm realizing now. Okay, fucking idiot. It's the one that they shot there that she kind of like shot back, right? When they shot into Westview and she kind of the drone, she shot it back. Yeah, that's probably it. All right, well there you go. Fucking dipshit. You guys are listening to me figure shit out in real time. But then we get to see, this new White Vision. The White Vision from the comics. There's a specific comic, like a couple of panels going around where he's like talking to his kids and Wanda, being like, "Oh yeah, I am made from the body of who your father and who your husband was, but I am not your father. I am not your husband." And it's like so cold, and it's brilliant, especially after being, so like enthralled by Paul Bettany's performance as a personable Vision throughout this whole time. Yeah, man, what a great episode. What a great setup for the final episode. There's 9 episodes, guys. There isn't 10. There's 9. Cut it out. You're wrong. Cut it out. Unless I'm wrong and this is gonna be fucking embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. I think that's it for this episode. This might be the first consistent episode where I didn't really take any pauses. That's wild. Good for me. All right. Make sure to follow the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating and a review at Apple Podcasts, and subscribe on YouTube at Comedian of Cinema. That's where the podcast goes to. And follow me on Instagram at Comedian of Cinema. There will be more updates, or at least one more update on the Funko Pop 50K giveaway, which is happening. And I'm currently literally like taking apart cabinets and my bed in my room to move and repaint. And then I will have the camera set up in the next 2 weeks. I would say maybe in the next 2 episodes. Maybe even next episode, if shit moves fast. That I will be doing video podcasts. Next episode or the episode after that. Don't fucking quote me. All right. Stay alive, stay safe, wear a fucking mask.